Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Podcast Demastered. I'm Wade, and I'm here with Chelsea as always, and in this episode, we are diving further into our Krakoan X-Men adventure. Now, we have covered so much X-Men at this point.
Yes.
And really, it's just like, it's like 3 years of X-Men so far, like if we're talking just timeline. But we've released so many episodes covering all of the eras of the Krakoan Age, and today we're going to wrap up Destiny of X, which is kind of like Act 3, like the third part out of 4 of our little adventure. And so far, Chelsea, how you feeling?
Wow, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a lot, but it definitely has had its highs and lows. I am so happy that we are doing this together, and I get to dive back more into comics.
So no regrets?
No, not at all.
Even though you're having to read so many comics.
Yes. I definitely dislike some of them, but I don't regret reading them to find out
For
the
sure.
stories.
Yeah, we are no strangers to how comic books work. Sometimes you get stories and characters that just click and they work so well, regardless of the premise. And then on the other side, sometimes you get a book with characters and stories that you're like, how did this fail? How did this not work out the way that I thought?
Yeah.
And, with X-Men, there's so many mutants. And I think Krakoa did a wonderful job of, fitting so many people in to all of these books. Like, these eras, they go on for so long, but they cover so much ground as far as, who's involved and who are we catching up with for the first time in years and years and years. Who's coming back to life, So many different things.
For sure. It's also been fun to also get a lot of these crazy crossovers that are dealing with our other superheroes, part of the Marvel Universe, because we've had crossovers with the Eternals, with the Avengers, with Spider-Man, and all of the Spider-Man villains, whatnot, craziness, and we are going to see a little bit more of that with Captain Marvel.
We sure are. It's her turn to be involved.
Yes. Because Wade made our reading list and I was like, Captain Marvel. I was like, this is going to be interesting. I'm not sure where this goes. But it all made sense because where we left off with the X-Men book specifically, that was at the end where you had Corsair basically dying on a ship saying the Brood are coming. And it was kind of just like, wait, what? What's happening with this?
That's it's a weird place to leave off in any book with, Cyclops' dad just being like, help, I'm dying. The Brood are coming. Oh, God. And then, end of the book. Okay, great. Awesome.
And then it's like, oh, okay, we're involving Captain Marvel in this, which was actually a really nice read. It was really cool to get her point of view on things and see where her character was at and all this and how connected her story is to the Brood and how she has previously dealt with them. Now, the Brood, okay. Let's see. For those who may not know what the Brood is,
how to explain the Brood? Yes.
They are creepy looking. They basically look almost like a mix between not like a praying mantis and like a cockroach. I don't know.
Kind of, yeah. That's a pretty good description.
Yeah, but they're like these nasty insectoid creatures, but they're just basically a parasite, a threat on the universe. They want to just consume things. They also are obsessed with people with powers and want to I think they basically have to eat them to absorb their powers or mimic them and find ways for them to, because it's one of those evil things that has a hive mind to bring knowledge to the person in power within their group. And all they want to do, there's nothing really positive about them. They just want to destroy the universe and everybody in it.
At all. There's no redeeming facts besides the fact that they are just intelligent life in the universe, ?
Yeah.
So if that's what you want to call them, but the X-Men and the Brood, they go back a long, long way, as well as other characters they've dealt with. The Brood have been involved all over the place, but they leave destruction and death in their wake. Regardless of who is fighting them. So
yeah,
it's weird because the last place we saw them was way earlier in the Krakoan Age,
yes,
after the right after the Ten of Swords, I think it was.
I think so, yeah. So
something like that, but
ever ago.
Basically, the X-Men basically had control of the Broods, the hive mind, because they have a mutant Brood whose name is Brood.
Yeah.
Brood. And he basically, like, got this egg from his species that allowed him to control
because the New Mutants were like, hey, let's go steal this random thing. This egg looks fun to steal. And they're like, oh.
And it turns out it's actually, like, some crazy powerful thing.
Yep.
But they keep getting reports that, like, the Brood are out attacking people in space, and Brood's like, pretty sure they're not.
Yeah.
Because I would know, like, hive mind and all that. I'm the king, so... But turns out they were indeed out, doing... It was like an off branch of the Brood. Basically, like, they have a new queen, and she found a way to, like, wrestle mental control off of some of them from the hive mind, something like that.
Because of when, like, it was revealed, like, when Brood was asleep, he had, like, less control over them, and so they were able to break free of his mental control.
Mm-hmm. Which, more on that later.
Yes.
But yeah, and they attacked Corsair, who again is Cyclops' space pirate dad.
Yes.
And he put out a distress signal, and here comes not only the X-Men, but also Captain Marvel to save him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some drama.
Yes, lots of drama. So then you also get put into, like, Captain Marvel's backstory a little bit more, and it also talks about, so in her book, it has a little blurb if anybody, like, hadn't been previously reading any of the stories, because I jumped right into Captain Marvel for this one, and it talks about how her powers have been developing still, and that she caused this energy surge recently that created a kind of energy being that is like a similar version of herself called Binary.
Oh, Binary.
Yes. Yeah. And Binary was kidnapped by the Brood. And so that is what sets off Captain Marvel to go after the Brood, being like, I hate the Brood, and they have Binary, like, this is not cool. They're just trying to use her to get to me. And the X-Men are like, well, we're here to help. We got the distress signal and everything. Like, let's work together on this. And so we get lots of crazy fighting. Also, because Captain Marvel herself gets to team up with some fun people. Because we get, like, Rogue, Polaris, Wolverine, and
it's
Psylocke.
Quite a group of people, like, that are going on this space mission. It's a pretty cool group. But, and everybody is pretty, like, they're ready to go, like, ready to fight with each other and form the team. But if you know comics, if you're aware of personal histories, you know that Captain Marvel and Rogue, they have some pretty deep trauma together, like, against each other in a way. But I don't know if we want to dive too deep into that. But basically, like, Rogue, a long time ago, Rogue essentially, like, stole all of Captain Marvel's powers. Mm-hmm. And, Captain Marvel's power set is not little. And with her power set, Rogue was able to do so much more than she could ever have done. But it left Carol in, like, a highly traumatized state, essentially, because she had just had some really terrible things happen to her, which is why she was staying with the X-Men for a little bit. And then Rogue came along and, like, accidentally, but took her powers away from her, and it was a whole thing. And so they've had a very rough relationship, I suppose, since then. But you see the two come together.
Yes.
And, they're, like, it's, earlier we talked about, like, Jean Grey and Maddie finally getting to come together and, like, have a talk and figure out their trauma together. Rogue and Captain Marvel are ready to do the same thing.
Yes. Which I was really glad to see, because even though this book has a lot of just, action-packed, taking on the Brood, we do get a lot of these moments of these characters healing, communicating with each other, because it's not just with Captain Marvel and Rogue. We also see more of Captain Marvel with Binary, and also a little side group that we get to see, because we get the old Laura, the one who they were able to free from the vault, who now goes by Talon. We see her again with Sync, and there's a little bit of stuff with them, and they definitely play a big part in the story of helping everybody succeed in the task. But also it gets revealed that Sync, who has been a force to be reckoned with this entire arc, basically. Like, he's become such a cool dude. He's so experienced because, he survived the vault. He is super old now. He's just able to, like, easily use everybody's powers, and he's shown off this ability in a sense where his power set has grown so much where he doesn't have to be so close to people in order to mimic their powers. But Talon reveals guys like Sync can keep doing this. Like, this person may be, like, far away and he's able to reach for these powers, but it's, like, rapidly aging him. On top of that. And it's like, there is a price for this.
There is, and that'll continue to pop up for a little bit. I mean, it's now an important part of Sync's story, so we'll definitely see a little bit more of that coming up.
Yeah, but essentially with this whole story, so just fighting to get Binary back, and then at one point Carol is like, the Brood, take me instead. You clearly want me. Everybody else escape, because Captain Marvel decides, I'm going to basically turn myself into a bomb and kill the Brood. And everybody else is like, that's cool, but you're giving, like, so much power, absorbing so much power, you're going to create a black hole and suck everybody else with you.
Yeah. She's like, well, let's just hope that doesn't happen then.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, that's not good. And so we see a moment, too, of who can help save Captain Marvel, even though Captain Marvel is the one that can save everybody. This is where we get that moment of her and Rogue coming together, because Rogue is like, approaches her, is like, I can help you, but am I allowed to help you? Will you let me share your power with you? And it just, the full circle moment, and then both of them together. Like, oh gosh, yes. Goodness. And then they basically destroy, or, you know, basically deal with the Rogue Brood. But then we have Jean entering the picture, because she's kind of been looking at Brew, the one that they were like, you know, we thought you were keeping everything great with them. And they have an interesting conversation with each other as well.
Oh, they sure do.
Yeah.
Brew's like just making some offhanded remarks that he doesn't think is important. And Jean's like, excuse me, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they also both talk about, like, you know, it's important to realize the immense power you have, but you need to also deal with the consequences of your actions. And Jean's, because the whole thing is that a lot of the or specifically Cyclops is like, I hate the Brood.
Yes.
Kill everything.
Kill all of them.
And Jean is like, excuse me, is that what you just said?
That, sir.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Because she, at one point, she goes, look me in the eyes and say that to my face again. And then
please offer me mass genocide one more time. Like,
yes.
Like full extinction. Let's go ahead and say that again, sir.
Yeah. And he does, and Jean's like,
and he does. And she's like, you know what? I think we need a break. See ya.
Yeah. It's like,
just walks out of that room.
Yeah. And then, so she's like, Brew, come with me. And Brew's all like, please don't kill me. And Jean's like, you know, I could kill everything I don't like very easily. But, you know, that's the easy way. This is not what I do. And so she takes him to, it's the celestial, the head. What is that place called?
Nowhere?
Yeah, Nowhere, right? Because there's a side tangent where they bring back Nowhere, because Nowhere itself had been sucked into a black hole. It was like forged. Got it.
For those of you who are listening, if you're like, what's Nowhere? Nowhere is the place, like in Guardians of the Galaxy, that has like the city inside of the celestial head. That's Nowhere. It's a little different in the comics. It's not like a city necessarily. It's a little different, but that's where they're going. That's where they go. Yeah.
But they also, like, I don't know if it's, I guess it's trapped in something else as well. It's a weird situation where it's very contained.
Yeah. Yes.
And so anyway, it's a contained, so it's basically a quote prison, but not. So Jean takes Brew there and is like, I'm not going to kill you, and I won't kill any of the Brood that are under your control if you agree to basically stay here forever, essentially. And
like,
Brew is kind of
keep your Brood right here with you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, okay.
Yeah, he's like, I'm happy with that. Like, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, even for this ability to just live and be with my friends, be with my family. Yeah. Also, a side note with this whole story is that they insert this random little thing. I'm not sure if he becomes important later, but it seemed a little suspicious. Was that at one point during the story, you see an alert about like who's coming through the Krakoan gate to Krakoa, and it's Typhoid Mary was announced that she was now married to Wilson Fisk, and they were going to be living on Krakoa together.
Yeah, so okay, so yes, that's important later, but that comes out of the story that had just happened called Devil's Reign, where,
Okay.
well, it didn't really just happen necessarily. It was happening at the same time as Ben was Spider-Man during that Beyond storyline we kind of talked about before Dark Web, where basically, like, Fisk was up for re-election for mayor, and he was like, it's time to just completely ban all vigilantes from New York. It's all outlawed. You're all done. And people were like, okay. And it was a whole thing. And he's on the campaign trail. And Luke Cage is like, y'all, this is dumb. I'll be mayor because Fisk he's getting away with too much.
Right.
And so it's a really good story. It's a big Daredevil story, essentially, but involving everybody. And in the end, Luke, he gets put in as mayor. Fisk is banished. Like, he is a wanted criminal. And Typhoid Mary, who they had been like lovers for a bit, they escape, and because she's a mutant, she's like, just come with me, girly, and we'll go to Krakoa. And they can't do anything about it in Krakoa. And Fisk was like, okay. And so yes, they're in Krakoa, and we'll talk more about that later.
Yes. Okay. I'm, I guess, looking forward to it, maybe. I guess we'll see. But
it's a good time. It's a good time.
Okay. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up that story. Is there anything else I missed with that one?
Oh, there was the one plot point with Brood as to, like, what was happening with, like, the rogue Brood was that Nightmare.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah,
why did I
Nightmare
forget that?
Yes. Who Jean, like, bitch slapped, like, forever ago.
Yes, yeah, earlier in that
series. Sent him running off. He
Yes.
was working with the Brood to basically wrestle control away from Brood in the sleep. So there's, like, a little bit more with him to get back at Jean specifically, to put her in such a terrible place, which she solved pretty quickly.
Yep.
Much to his angst, but here we are. But yeah, so there's Captain Marvel's, this whole run ends like 2 issues later, and it's a very, very sweet ending. And the X-Men continue to forge on. Ha! Forge.
Yes. Nah. Oh, Forge.
Oh, Forge. Well, more on Forge later, but hey.
Yes. But we will forge on with these other stories,
We will forge on. Yes. So we're going to forge on pretty quickly, from what I understand.
Yes, I have a very short thing to say about this next one. We are going to be quickly talking about Marauders.
The end of.
Yes, finally the end, guys. So, listeners, maybe you've enjoyed the story. I have not as much. It's been dragging on way too long. But essentially, this story wraps up pretty quickly. So we have gone through all this crazy time travel back and forth between the, quote, original mutants to bringing them to Krakoa, to going in the past with them, to then just being like, okay, what happens next? Well, basically, this whole ending is Kate has been pondering about that Mysterium puzzle box that kickstarted this whole rescue the mutants from the past, and she's basically like, oh, this is weird. Like, I probably created this box, so that means I created it now. So I created Threshold. And she's like, let's all do this together, guys. Let's go to Genosha. Because, we've been dealing with all this stuff. Let's just bring everything full circle. Let's go to the place where so many people died to bring new life to the mutants that will kickstart everything off, kind of. And she's like, hey, ghost of Genosha, is it cool if we use you guys to create mutants for the past? Hey, Dad, this is all for you. And with the help of other mutants, dead spirits of Genosha, Bam sends the Mysterium puzzle box with the DNA, whatnot, magical voodoo to kickstart mutants in the past. That's the end of that story.
Ta-da!
Yay.
Like it never mattered.
Nope. Anyway. So
moving on.
Yes.
Kate will come back. She's important. She'll be back.
Yes.
But not Marauders.
No.
But not the
Darn.
Marauders.
Whatever. Okay.
Well, moving on.
Yes.
Yeah, moving on. We're gonna just briefly mention the Scarlet Witch book, which is technically not an X-Men book, but it is because I say it is. So moving on from that. So Scarlet Witch, who has been enjoying this nice little renaissance the last few years due to the MCU, essentially. Not complaining on that end, I promise. We stan Wanda in this house, so she's been through some stuff the last couple years to kind of get herself, like, rebooted, essentially. She's kind of gone and, like, through, like, the trial of Magneto, she has killed herself, brought herself back, established a very much real mutant heaven where they can bring mutants back from, even if they don't get included in like the whole Cerebro system, which really opens the door for anybody ever to be literally anybody to be reincarnated via this method. She has sealed away the Darkhold and Chthon within her own heart, and she's backhanded Doctor Doom just cuz. And she has a new lease on life. She has no more strings, no more guilt. She's good to go. So she flies to upstate New York to a place called Lotkill, and she sets up a new base of operations in this nice little hipster magic shop, which I love so much. And if you're a fan of Darcy from the MCU, Darcy is, for whatever reason, like, she's working for Wanda in this shop, where basically Wanda, she sells like magical remedies to problems, just, you know, basic things. But also, there's this thing that she's this new spell she's created called the Last Door, where if anybody, like, in the universe is basically on their last legs and they have nobody to reach out to, there is no hope for them, this door appears to them, and if they go through it, they end up in Wanda's shop so that she can solve their problem for them, which is a reflection on her past and all of the times where she was left in such a terrible place with zero support, and it led to just terrible things happening. This is one of her ways that she's repenting, is by being that support for the people who have nothing left. And, you know, via this comic, you get some really nice new stuff from Scarlet, flexing her powers, her magical prowess, her chaos magic, but some really neat, like, relationship building going on. Not just with Darcy, who is plot relevant. She's not just there just for her smart aleck remarks, but, you know, you do get some of that.
Yes.
You get lots of guests within this book. Like, the very first guest is Storm, I think.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes it's, oh, I need your help, Wanda. And Wanda's like, cool, let's go. And sometimes they get there, like, to catch up over a cup of tea. And while they're chit-chatting, it's like, oh, this thing has come up. And Wanda's like, cool, do you want to come help me deal with this? And they go on an adventure. Like, we see Polaris, you know, sister Polaris.
Was so sweet.
They go on a really cool adventure together, like, through time and space, into a different like, universe even, I think. Like, a whole thing. Really fun. Even the Vision's daughter, Viv, who, if you don't know who Viv is, go look Viv up. She's pretty cool. Wanda takes her, not really daughter, on a road trip across whatever it is that Viv needs, and they have a nice connection and bonding time, and it's just really good stories, and I feel like the script is really good. It's just a fun time.
It is really nicely written, and it's kind of like wholesome in so many ways. Like, there's definitely like some other stuff going on the story, but it's just so sweet, her having these positive interactions with people and being able to just be who she is and being able to help people.
So Chelsea hasn't gotten too far in that, so I can't give away too much yet, but we'll maybe talk more about that later. Yes. But that is a story that is going on. But for now, we will continue on.
Yes, and we'll probably go through these next couple ones, honestly, fairly quickly. There were multiple issues for a lot of these next couple ones, but the story really could have been way shorter, guys. It was a read, but we'll start with Sabretooth and the Exiles, which is a continuation of the Sabretooth series that we covered in a prior episode, which was really interesting. Like, that one was, I thought, really well done. It was a really interesting read. It introduced us to some new characters, and at the end of that, it saw Sabretooth escaping Krakoa and then getting kidnapped by Orcus. And then the other people that were stuck in the pit with him, they were set free and told, go after Sabretooth, trap him forever with this magic special thing from Krakoa, and you guys will be great. So this basically picks up from that, but it's
also like, it's so weird. Basically, like, you got the Exiles going out, and they're like, well, if we catch him, like, we're not going back, so kind of whatever. And then you have Sabretooth, who has been kidnapped by Orcus, and is being experimented on by this freak of nature. Holy cow, she's a monster. Wow. And she's basically creating her own mutant. like, it's too much. Like, oh my gosh. She's gross.
Yes.
And so basically, like, they are chasing after Orcus. They have this little, like, airship station kind of thing, and they're chasing after that, and then they go to one in the ocean, and they chase after that. And
then they discover that there's more mutants being experimented on, so the Exiles set them all free.
And tons, yeah.
And then they set Sabretooth free, and then Sabretooth's like, all right, I have some buddies and all of this, like, and everybody's like, we worship you, Sabretooth. And then, like, the Exiles are like, but is he gonna betray everybody? Like, there's no way he's not, right?
Yeah, like, we're just kind of waiting for that to happen.
Yeah. And of course, we go to reveal it all, so there's just been this crazy lady doing all these experimentations, but guess what? She thinks she's been working for Orcus and whatnot, but there's been somebody else behind the scenes pulling the strings. Dun, dun, dun. Dun. Grayson Creed, who is the son of Sabretooth, who has been through a lots of issues with his father, clearly hates his father, and basically is just like, yeah. I mean, it makes sense. But
like, you hate your dad, not all of the mutants. Like,
yeah.
But
he doesn't just hate his singular dad. He hates his dad so much that he has been hunting his dad in the multiverse.
He's been doing like a reverse Spider-Verse to kill all the Sabretooths all over the place.
Yes.
It's a mess.
Yeah. But essentially, he tries to kill his father, he fails, and Sabretooth finds the other Sabretooths that were still alive, and he's like, I love you guys because you guys are me. Let's form an alliance, and let's go after our enemy. And they're like, yeah. And that's how it ends.
Why not? Yeah. It's like, okay, great. Fantastic.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that character development just to end up back where we started.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, and I think, doesn't Nanny, like, run off with, like, a big thing of babies?
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah. The babies that were super powerful in the ocean lab or whatever. And everybody's like, that's fine. I'm sure that won't
they were gonna, like,
get
kill
to
all
us.
them all. And Annie's like, absolutely not. And she just
My
betrays
children.
the heck out of everybody and just
steals
the whole ship. She's like, don't worry, babies, I got you. And there's poor, like, Peter, who
was having issues with the suit, and then they basically made a new one for him, and they're like, you can never escape your suit ever again.
Yeah.
So, yay.
Which I thought, like, ooh, we're gonna, like, learn what his powers are.
Yes.
No. I don't, like, we'll never learn, because the second, like, that suit comes off, like, the world is destroyed, so.
Apparently, yes.
You know. So, like, whatever.
Anyway, that's basically
moving on.
It. Yep. Okay. This one, I am sad to say I did not enjoy it that much. Now we are talking about Betsy Braddock, Captain Britain. This is continuing on Captain Britain's storyline with Otherworld, with her new relationship with Rachel Summers. Like, you know, honestly, this particular series is really just like fan service, I swear. It's just to do tidbits of the relationship, which, like, I'm not mad about, but I'm also like, I need more from this story. I also need more character from them instead of just these, like, oh, moments of them just doing things together. And I'm like, okay, but
doesn't it, like, it start with, like, basically they were just, like, literally in bed together?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, it's like, oh, okay, great. Awesome.
Yeah, and they're always like, we'll be late. We're busy and we're kissing and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, but I need more from you guys, like, instead of just
turn the
this.
page here.
Yeah, and it's so sad because I love those two. I love Betsy, but of course there's another storyline going, but it's not even a good Otherworld story, which I know a lot of people, I've read opinions about this, they have not enjoyed all of her stories, but I thought the other ones are at least fun. You know, she had some fun companions. There's some really funny things we've seen in the past, like Jubilee, like everything. It's just a great time. But this story, it's more of the same, more of Britain just basically being like, we super hate mutants, we super hate
racist,
Betsy.
Like, holy crap.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
wow, okay.
Yeah, all the witch breed, you know, just...
I love that term so much.
Yeah, it really is great. Oh my gosh.
We'll just lean more into the Arthurian stuff. Okay, it's 2023, but all right.
But anyway, no, everybody wants to be like, yes, Morgan Le Fay is the one who's right in everything. Essentially, Morgan Le Fay just wants to, you know, get Captain Britain, basically, you know, destroy her and make her own Captain Britain. Well, she fails. It doesn't really matter. The story basically ends with Morgan Le Fay being healed / given what she's wanted by Betsy to become one with Britain or something like that, and she becomes maybe kind of good. Yeah, that's the story.
It's weird, and it leaves the characters in kind of a weird place too. Like,
yeah,
with my ability of hindsight, I'm like, why? Okay, but conversation for another day.
Yeah. So I mean, in general, I like Betsy and her family. Like, I like Brian and his wife and his daughter. Like, they're kind of funny. Actually, the daughter's moments are some of the funniest ones, I think, because at one point she's like the master planner for all of them, and she'll like have her little dolls that she's created of everybody and be like, okay, you're gonna get in position here and you're gonna go do this. It's just these silly little moments. But yeah, weirdness with that. I hope we see more of them in the future, but maybe with better stories.
Perhaps.
Yes. Okay. Another one that I actually didn't enjoy that much either, sadly, which was New Mutants Lethal Legion. Now, New Mutants itself, that series was killing it. I really enjoyed it. All the characters, it really went to deeper with, their emotions. We got to see the Lost Club, I think they were called, all the newer New Mutants going through all their issues. But at the end of that series, we started focusing more on a new mutant called Escapade. And basically, this is a continuation of her story in a sense. And it's basically just kid mutants are bored and they get into trouble because they're like, what can we do? And Escapade's like, hey, me and my other friend, we used to just like rob people because it was funny. So you want to go rob some rich guy's house? Well, it turns out to be this vampire type dude, and
there's no executioners to help them. No. Or exterminators. There we go. Exterminators. Yes.
Nope. They get to be crazy on their own. And essentially it just ends with Martha, who played a big part at the end of the last story, who came, instead of just being a brain floating in a glass jar, to an actual human. It's basically about Escapade and Martha's relationship. And by the end of the 5 issues, they become a couple. And you just deal with some friend drama. And yeah. That's it. Like, it's okay.
Some low-key New Mutants.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Yeah.
No.
Well, speaking of nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Now we move into another 5-parter. Mm-hmm. Another one that was kind of like, it should have been an email kind of thing. Rogue and Gambit, who we love and adore. But, this story is to set up for later. Like the end later. Forever from now. And it's not that complicated. Basically, like, Destiny is having visions, and she needs Rogue and Gambit to go and save Manifold, who we haven't really seen much of since the end of Sword. Because he was one of those mutants up in space, because his power is extremely spacey.
Yes.
He can communicate with the universe and ask it to, like, fold in on itself to open portals so he can, like, travel across the universe within space.
Yes.
Like, but that's
very powerful teleportation.
Yes,
yeah.
he does that by conversing with the universe. And he's at a tight spot because of Orcus, go figure. And Destiny's like, you need to go save him and then, like, stow him away somewhere. Like, I don't care where you put him. Like, he needs to be out of the picture for a while. And there's, like, some petty drama because Destiny and Gambit hate each other. Which is, that's kind of funny because Gambit does everything in his power to basically just tick Destiny off. As the husband that, like, the husband of the favorite daughter kind of thing. And Destiny just allows him to get under her skin. So that there's a lot of humor when they're in the same room together.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just them kind of going on this little trip to save Manifold. But Manifold's like, I don't want to talk to you all because, like,
you're bringing me to Destiny and I don't trust her.
And we don't do that here. And they're just like, I'm Rogue. Like, just listen to what I say. It's...
But then Rogue and Gambit are like marriage issues, and because they don't want to talk to each other, and apparently because Gambit's keeping it all in when he died in Otherworld, and Rogue is just off doing her own things, and so they just need couples therapy and just like one issue of it.
To be fair, I'd be upset if I was Gambit too, because his death was awful. And it
Yes.
happened like in the background of Rachel and Betsy making out. So
because that's all they do. That is their
'Cause that's all they
personality
do.
now. My gosh.
And you know, Rogue wasn't there when that happened because I mean, how was she supposed to be? Honest, like it's whatever.
She was off somewhere else,
Like
another part
she
of the
was
galaxy
also
or whatever.
going
Yeah.
through some stuff, but you know, it's drama that they put in there to kind of like give some more substance to the book, but there's not a lot of that anyway. So basically, the whole point is just to get Manifold, to put him somewhere for safekeeping, and we're moving on. Like, that's the end of that.
But it's also messed up how that ends, though, with Manifold, is that basically the Power Broker is a villain that's popped up in the past and had created a device to control mutants, and they were fighting for that and stuff, and Rogue got the controller for that, and was like, oh, Manifold won't come with me to Destiny? We're just gonna slap that collar on him, and here you go, Destiny. Here's the power to control him. Bye. And I was like, oh, cool. Yep.
Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Because Destiny's all like, the future of mutantdom, like, rides on Manifold. So whatever he says, it doesn't really matter. You need to bring him here.
Mm-hmm.
And Rogue, she knows to trust Destiny, but also, like, not trust Destiny. So
Yes.
It's a whole thing, but we'll talk about that in a few episodes, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, we're finally heading towards the main event here.
Yes, that you've been
whole
talking about
purpose,
forever. Yes.
The secrets I've been hiding in my heart for all of these years.
Yes.
Finally,
Gosh.
we're getting closer to Sins of Sinister, which I have never had this much fun. Like, it's a good time. But before we talk about the actual event, we have to talk about... You be nice. We have to talk about Legion of X and Immortal X-Men.
Yes.
And so Legion of X...
It essentially,
Chelsea, remind me what's happening right here.
So it's really kind of weird. We see I think there's three main things that we can really focus on in this. The first one is that Nightcrawler wakes up one day and he has horns. And everybody is like,
does, yeah.
What is wrong with you, dude? And he's like, I don't know. And so they try to work through that because everybody's like, what is wrong with you? This is weird. Is this a secondary mutation? And it becomes a thing where at one point during the story, they go to Sinister and he's like, hey, Sinister, can you help me with this? And he's like, I don't know what's going on. Bam, kills him. They resurrect him.
Oh, yeah.
And he still has horns. And they're like, that's weird. It's ingrained in his DNA somehow that we have or whatnot. That's strange. So we'll table that for later because that leads into, we'll find out more about that.
Because Nightcrawler's like, I don't feel any different.
Yeah,
things seem fine. So as long as bad things aren't happening, let's just move on for now and keep an eye on me, I guess.
Yes. And then there's a story that has to deal with a little bit with the new Black Knight, Jackie, who I think is the daughter of the original Black Knight, gets involved in this story.
Yes.
And she turns out to be a mutant. She didn't know it. And her mutant ability is to make other mutants' abilities act up / bring out an X gene in everybody type thing.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, and everybody goes, everybody has an X gene. That's interesting. And they're like, we'll come back to that later, maybe. And then this part of the story is kind of beautiful, and I'm glad it ended how it ended in a way, is that, so, David has been rocking it with his amazing, basically, world and his mind to help people heal, explore new ideas and everything. Well, Warlock and Doug come to him and they're like, hey, dude, we think you have a virus in you that's technologically related to Warlock itself that is going to infect your mind and kill everybody. And he's like, that's not cool. And they're like, we can help you create defenses for that. And then he's like, I don't want to admit defeat that I'm not powerful enough to do this. And they're like, it's okay. It's okay to ask your friends for help and we can help fix this. And anyway, his mind gets infected and all this stuff. And of course, while this is happening, you get a moment where Blindfold, Legion's girlfriend, goes to Professor X and is like, hey, you need to talk to your son. He's been doing amazing things. Go see him and work out your issues.
Yeah, she comes, while Legion is going through some stuff with this virus that he's trying to like hold, because the issue with it is it's not as simple as snapping his fingers. He has to like close down this new like plane of existence that he has attached to his brain, because if he like resets it while everybody can just walk in, like they might blink out of existence. It's a whole thing, and he's trying to figure that out. And Blindfold shows up with Charles, and she's like, listen, your son is doing wonderful, like truly wonderful things, and he wants you to be a part of this, even though he would never say so. But he loves you so much, you need to go be a father. Like, this is your chance. Like, I have been watching. This is the time. Go make up with him now. And Charles is like, oh, like, it is time. I can feel it. I understand what I have to do. So he goes over to David, who is like at one half having this conversation with Charles, the other half dealing with the chaos that is like crazy, this virus, you know, he's trying to do all of this stuff, and they're conversing, and it's going like, okay, but then it's not going okay. They're doing the normal stuff they do where they just kind of go round and round, but you feel like Charles is really just kind of picking at him. Yeah. And David is just kind of like, you're trying to make me feel a certain way, and I'm going to rise above it. Let's talk. Let's actually talk. And Charles is just being awful.
Yeah. Well, not quite at first, because he realizes when he like goes on this tour with Legion, he's like, wow, Legion has actually created something really incredible. Like, I'm a little jealous in a sense, but like, it's really beautiful. But at the same time, I'm sorry, son. I never trusted you to begin with. And even though it kind of looks like I messed up, I activated this protocol, surprise, because I thought you were going to go super crazy. So we're going to like shut down your mind. And you're just like, what?
And Legion like has nothing to say about, like, there's nothing he can do about it. It's already too late.
Yeah. And then while this virus is happening, so because Charles did this, it's going to affect all these people. And Charles is kind of like, see you later, son, and like walks away. And you're like, are you freaking kidding me? You put your son in this mess. Like, you come back here, sir.
Fix
like, how
this. Like,
dare you? Like, this is...
Look 10 seconds in the future and you see what an issue you're about to cause.
Yeah. And so you think he like for real left, which I mean was on brand for him this whole entire conversation, but he actually comes back and helps his son. And I'm like, freaking finally, Charles, you have finally realized and opened your eyes and can be okay with other people being better than you in some ways. And so he helps his son, and they kind of get a little bit of that moment of understanding for each other. And where Charles like finally kind of admits to him like, no, I actually am proud of you, and I'm sorry I misjudged you, and I know it's going to be hard for us to continue to move past things because I made this mistake, because you are different than you were before, and I am in awe of how much power you truly have. Charles just like admitting to being like, dude, this like, but it's still just like, I can't believe you went there, sir.
It's a mess.
Yeah, no, for real, it's a mess. And then of course it continues to be a mess because technically with this whole virus thing, Warlock, which is like soul bonded with Doug, but he dies in this process. So Doug loses his soul essentially and becomes like lost. And then we also have Mother Righteous, who has been, you know, chilling in the background, kind of being like, you know, you should really ask me for help, but I guess I'll just watch this play out. And then she takes off her mask or whatever, and it's revealed to be a heart.
She is
on
the
her
fourth
forehead.
Sinister.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun, indeed.
Yes, which actually kind of ends technically with Nightcrawler ends up doing poorly. He ends up turning really violent and stuff, and the horns become not the only problem with him, and he kind of becomes a monster that...
like a full-blown monster, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has always expected him to be, but that's never who he was. And then that's where we see the moment with Mother Righteous and kind of ending in this insanity and spiraling to this crazy story.
And that's kind of where Legion of X leaves off for Sins of Sinister, but we'll pick it up here soon.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to go into Immortal X-Men, which is like, you know, the entirety of the Immortal X-Men storyline has been headed straight for Sins of Sinister. this entire time. And with these last like 2 issues before Sins of Sinister, I think it's like 2 issues, we get, I mean, this whole ramp up, like things are moving fast.
Yes.
Sinister is like, it's time. I'm doing the thing that I've wanted to do. Let's get this party rolling. And so Chelsea, why don't you tell us about what he does?
Oh my gosh, what does Sinister do? All the wrong things. No,
oh my god.
We have been slowly seeing bits and pieces across Immortal X-Men, across other things, hints about, Sinister is all about cloning, all about his magical secret labs, and we've seen it reveal that he has clones of Moira. Well, he's also been continuously testing, using Moira as kind of a
save spot.
Yeah, save spot for his life to kind of video game style, being like, oh, I'm going to save before a big boss. Oh crap, I didn't do things right. Let me go back before that happened and keep working forward until I get to my plan.
It's such an ingenious thing that the writers thought of for this. So he calls it his Moira engine. And what he does is that he made his own clone of Moira. And if we don't remember Moira McTaggart, her mutant abilities is full-scale resurrection, like timeline restart.
Reset times. Yeah.
When she dies, she is born again. The timeline resets to her birth specifically, or like conception maybe even, like in the womb.
Yeah.
And life restarts from right there. And she carries over all of the knowledge that she gained in her previous life. And, like in the overarching story, we're on life 10. Like the Krakoan Age takes place in her 10th life. And she has all 10 lives worth of knowledge to think on, basically, all of those experiences. Well, Sinister has kind of done that for himself via this Moira engine, where he has crafted 6 Moira clones that he has also aged to certain extents. He keeps them at a certain age. And so the youngest one he has is just a few years old or something. And if he kills that one, then we only go back that age, her, whatever that Moira's age is, we jump back in the timeline. Except with his science, he gets to keep the knowledge. It's uploaded to his computer, and his computer inside Moira's brain. So it carries over with her, and then his computer takes it out of her brain, puts it in his. It's this whole convoluted thing.
Yeah.
But
it's really crazy smart, but also just so messed up.
But it's basically a video game save state. Where if he messes it up, he just goes back to his lab, he shoots a Moira, he gets to go do that thing again, knowing the outcome of the last time.
Exactly. But so specifically with Immortal X-Men, we see him enacting his plan, which Sinister in general has always been about the long game. He's always been about being in the shadows and then just pouncing once his idea has come to fruition.
Oh,
but
yes.
We see him kind of just crazily muttering to himself, being like, I need to make this work. We see it in between the different panels, the little blurbs about if I do this or this way didn't work. So basically, he comes to the Quiet Council and he just starts killing everybody. And he keeps resetting it because he's trying to get to a particular goal about he needs to kill certain people.
Who dies and who survives. Yes. And does he survive as well? He needs a specific group of people to die in very quick succession so that he can escape, so that he can enact his plan. And it's kind of funny, you get these panels where he's like, okay, attempt number 1. And he goes in and he's like, I'll shoot, Xavier. But then he's immediately, killed by Emma because, her psychic abilities. Well, I'll start here with this bigger gun. And he just kind of keeps amping himself up and watching his progress from, attempt to attempt. While extremely gruesome and, oh my god, it's also kind of funny because it's Sinister.
Yeah, it's that really dark humor there, but it's also just so horrifying as he gets closer and closer to this, because you're like, what else is this leading to? Well, he finally succeeds, and he kills the main 4 people that he was trying to kill, which was Xavier, Emma, Exodus, and Hope. Because Hope was the biggest one that he was trying to kill off. And that is what makes him happy, and he kickstarts off the huge reveal that immediately leads into Sins of Sinister, where he basically activates his Sinister program. I don't know if it actually has a name.
Well, yeah, not really, I don't think, but essentially throughout this entire time on Krakoa, any time that any mutant has been resurrected, Sinister has been putting just the tiniest little bit of himself inside of them, like a seed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's so little that you can't find it. Like on a genetic map of a person, you don't see it. Only Sinister knows where to look and like how to spot it. But it's never been picked up. And by killing those 4 specific people, who of course are going to be immediately resurrected.
He has basically taken control of the council for his own.
It's so bizarre because it's not like mind control.
No.
But he's basically mapping his personality onto them.
Yeah.
And so they all come back, of course, because it's like we have to, like they've captured Sinister. We have to bring the 4 of them back. We've done it we figured it out without hope. All is well.
Yes.
Now that they're alive, and now that we have Sinister, this guy, he's going in the hole. We're done with him. We're sick and tired of it. And Katie, she leads the pack on that one. Basically, after those other guys did, they're all like covered in their blood.
Yes.
And she basically stands up in her chair and she's like, "Get him now." And they all go like charging at his lab, and that's a whole other comedic thing. But they get him, they banish him, into the hole you go. And everybody takes a deep breath and they're just like, okay, wow, like, I really feel like we dodged a bullet. Does everybody feel that? And like the 4 of the 4 people who they just brought back at the end, like they kind of like turn their heads and look at each other, and like they have the diamond on their forehead, the diamond.
Yes.
And
oh man.
And with that, Sins of Sinister begins. So the start of Sins of Sinister. Sinister has now taken over Charles Xavier, Emma Frost, Hope, and Exodus. The 4 probably biggest players in the Quiet Council. Especially with their telepathy.
Yeah.
And so things start to move pretty quickly here. Sinister himself has been banished to the hole. He's in the pit. He's gone. But the 4 of them, by acting together, they are continuing his will. And so there are steps that they have to take immediately to essentially create a world of Mr. Sinister. Because remember that Sinister's goal, like the rest of the Sinisters, is to reach dominionhood. To acquire enough, like, knowledge, basically, to elevate himself to AI god status.
Yeah.
To exist outside of the space-time continuum and therefore exist always and forever with all knowledge about everything. And boy, is he heading in that direction. So the first thing, and this is probably the easiest thing, is that he has to make sure that all the mutants are on his side. Not terribly hard considering who he has to work with, like who his 4 people are. They start by kind of taking care of like immediate threats to mutantdom. The one thing that comes to mind, like, and he's reaching out. He is like, any and all problems that could ever occur, we're taking care of them right now. I don't care how. Like, because Sinister's mind is twisted. He's going to deal with things. My favorite is getting rid of Thanos.
Oh, okay.
That's probably my favorite, like, my favorite problem.
Oh my gosh.
That he just wants to get rid of is Thanos, because Thanos is always an issue.
Yeah.
And could stop Sinister. And, you know, it's funny because at this time, Thanos is like, he's like traveling through the time stream right now, essentially. Like, that's kind of where his character's at. He's reaching for his own goals, but he's like in the time stream.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy.
And so like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Essentially what they do is they take Juggernaut. Don't they like shrink him down?
Kind of being like almost a bullet, in a sense.
Yeah, they shrink him down to the size of a bullet, toss him into Hope's rail gun.
Of course. Loves to shoot stuff.
Teleport. They drop Hope into the time stream, where basically she just takes a pot shot at Thanos from the back.
Yep.
With Juggernaut, so he is a bullet who cannot be stopped. And there goes Thanos' head. He's done.
Yep, exactly.
And she falls back through a portal. The only unfortunate part of this whole situation is that Juggernaut is now just kind of shooting through space-time indefinitely for forever. He will come up again later.
Exactly, he will.
But put him out of your mind right now.
Yes.
So that's the only one that immediately comes to mind. Like,
oh, yeah.
He takes care of
everybody.
the mutants, they cover every single base. Like,
yes. Because because Emma Sinister, or whatever you want to call them, basically, I think she's the one who basically sets up a fake Orcus attack, and that's really what gets everybody on the side of the mutants. And
yes.
So, Orcus gets quickly dealt with. We also see, basically, because people who have been through resurrection protocols, like we said, have a little bit of Sinister inside them. And one of those people that's not a mutant that had that happen was Captain America. And
absolutely,
he murders the president.
He does.
Yes.
He's like, he does it in like this is for the greater good of the country. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember. It's basically like you've been doing a crap job of like protecting. Mm-hmm. Like he does it like in broad daylight. Yes. Like you might as well put it on TV. Like he does it. So the Avengers are all like, okay, like all right. So but. Through that, he now has the Avengers on his side too. Mm-hmm. Wanda, they decimate Wanda. Mm-hmm. Like, she gone. Which, kudos to him for, like, thinking of Wanda.
Yep. Well, they also, like, say some twisted more thing about, like, no more Wanda. And you're just like, oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah. It's like, oh, dang.
Yeah. We don't...
Like, every time he kills... It's several pages worth of, like, people dying in terrible, ungodly ways. Yeah. But, like, with that special Sinister spice. Like, they kill Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty like, wow, okay, you just did that, all right.
They killed Doctor Doom, the Fantastic Four. They murder Asgard. Like, they just destroy.
Off the board.
Yeah.
Yep, off the board.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And we also see the part, though, they, like, Emma and all them Sinisters, they do let the original Sinister out of the pit. At one point, too.
Oh, yeah. Once it's, like, kind of safe to go, they let him out. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna argue, so...
Yeah. But then, basically, the council... So, because, like, basically a lot of mutants, we'll say, have been resurrected a ton, there is only one mutant on the council who has not. And that would be our girl Storm. And when she sees all this crap happening now, she's like, oh, peace out. Like, what the heck is happening? I'm going to go to my people now.
Yeah, it's such a thing because all of this stuff happens in so quickly. Yeah. She, like, her head is spinning. She's like, what is going on? Yeah. She's like, you all are, like, I don't know what's gotten into you all lately, but this is not what we stand for. So you can call me when you're ready to have a talk about it. Mm-hmm. So she flies up to Arakko, and they're just basically like, we're not calling her back. No. Like, okay.
Yeah. And then they're also like, Arakko is a problem. And so then they try to deal with Arakko. And that becomes a huge thing because Storm is like, okay, now, like, no, this is not cool. You are not going to take us down. You're not going to take my people. And it becomes a...
She's like, I didn't know the bell rang. Like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. So that becomes a very brutal fight that just... will continue on and on. And well, because another thing that really that Storm really notices too with the council being weird is with Nightcrawler, because she realizes that the Nightcrawler there is a fake on the council and that it was like a weird little like illusion or clone or something that Sinister had made, because the real Nightcrawler was hiding away somewhere, because he's still going through that weird mutation thing from Legion of X with the horns and kind of being more of a monster, and this is just escalating further and further, and he's almost becoming like more and more mindless and more of this huge beast that we will continue to see. Then another thing that happens really quickly in this early on is Destiny and Mystique. Destiny's like, Mystique, we need to go. Let's leave.
Oh, we need to hop out.
Yeah.
And Mystique's just like, okay.
Like, wherever you
we're
go.
Gone. In an instant.
Mm-hmm. And then we see, because I think it's this part, another thing is that Destiny goes to meet with Orbis Stellaris. I think that's, yes.
Orbis Stellaris.
Yes.
Who we've recently found out is the Spade. Yes, he's the Spade Sinister. He's the old man in, like,
the orb.
The gold orb thing. And she's basically like, listen, things are messed up and you need to, like, we need to be on the same page. Mm-hmm. And he's just kind of like,
Yeah.
Like, he's not really too worried about it because he's got his own plans afoot.
Mm-hmm. And then I think you have Storm and Mystique coming, or like Storm talking to Mystique about like, hey, I know how we can stop Sinister. And they're like, he has a lab and you should take it. And Storm's like, all right, I'm here for this. Like, this does not need to happen. But then it becomes, JK, Storm, I'm going to betray you. And I'm gonna take the lab. It becomes this whole thing where like this like, lab becomes an object that everybody like steals around.
Yeah,
like...
they kidnap the lab to have control over the Moira engine.
Yes,
but like nobody really knows like about the Moira engine necessarily, but that whatever is in the lab is kind of the key to solving this problem. But Sinister, who's not ready to solve the problem because he's collecting data.
Yes.
You know, he's collecting data now that he has control over everything. He wants things to work out a specific way so that he and he alone will reach Dominionhood. And this whole story is structured in this interesting way where, like, after Sins of Sinister starts, which is like this one huge one-shot book, the Immortal X-Men book turns into Immoral X-Men. You have the Legion of X turns into
Nightcrawlers,
which more on that later. Yes. And then you have the you have X-Men Red turning into like Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yes.
In each of these three stories is where the rest of Sins of Sinister pretty much takes place. And they take place in increments where issue 1 is 10 years in the future. Issue 2 is 100 years in the future. And issue 3 is 1,000 years in the future into this terrible, sinister, alternate universe. But the problem being is that with the Moira engine being kidnapped, essentially by question mark.
Yes, exactly.
Like somebody like they go there to steal it. Like Moira and Destiny and whoever, they go to steal it and they're like, oh, it's already gone. And everybody's like, well, crap, like we're done. Wrap it up, we're done. And Sinister's like, wait, excuse me, what now?
Like, no, like this is my plan. Yeah.
Yeah, like his emergency exit has disappeared.
Sucker.
And he's like, oh, this is it. This ain't good. So 10 years in the future, in a world of Sinister where Sinister himself doesn't want to be there.
Yes.
The world has changed pretty dramatically because what has happened is that they've opened up, not resurrection necessarily, but like to become sinisterized is like the newest fad. You can just kind of walk into a place and get a shot, and congratulations, you're Mr. Sinister now.
Yeah.
And they push it off like there's all of these pros to doing this. Like you want to be a Mr. Sinister person. So literally like everybody on Earth, human, mutant, inhuman, like literally anybody living on Earth is Mr. Sinister. So now they're all kind of working towards the same goal, which means the world has become a terrible place, a god-awful place. But they have started looking at the stars.
Yes.
Like to advance the plans of Sinister. And who doesn't care for that? Everybody else in the universe.
Yes.
They've all had eyes on Earth for 10 years because like of the shakeup that the Quiet Council did. And they're like, okay, Earth's a problem. It needs to go.
Yeah.
And so you get like a war on Earth, essentially. But you know who's not bothered by that? The Quiet Council.
Yeah, they're like, bring it on. We're mutants.
Yeah.
You guys are all dead.
So what they did to like the heroes and villains of Earth, they basically do to the rest of the universe. They had some kind of contingency to deal with anything and everything.
Yeah.
And while they were going to venture out on their own and do these things anyway, but when every single major power of the universe gets together and they're like, let's just go attack the planet and be done with it, they all show up on Earth's doorsteps and all the Sinisters are like, okay, we can do this now if you'd like.
Yeah.
And they do.
Well, and it's also kind of funny with the council is that the whole council is kind of like, we are awesome mutants. We've got this. We can like work together for now. But then they're like, you know who our weakest link is? that original Sinister, he like doesn't do anything.
The original Sinister.
And the original Sinister is like freaking out, like, I cannot freaking die. I need my data, basically. And he's trying to stay relevant to the other Sinisters.
He's flat out trying to stay relevant with his own self. Yep. Like, because everybody else is like, well, it's Sinister, but also Emma. Mm-hmm. It's Sinister, but also Charles. Yeah. Like,
we're the better versions.
Better versions of himself. And they flaunt that too.
Yes.
Like, at first they're like a group. We're like, oh, we are better than Mr. Sinister. Like, they understand what's happening. They understand how they got to this point and how they were absolutely duped. But they think they're better for it. Mm-hmm. And is specifically better than Nathaniel Essex.
Yes.
Who created them. So he's kind of like, oh God, I have to like immediately. They're like already eyeballing him to kill him. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, here, look, I've been working on my chimeras.
Yes.
Which, you know, chimeras are Sinister's genetic experiments where he's just kind of like sticking mutants together to make a new mutant. Yeah. So basically you have a person with both Jean and Cyclops' powers at the same time. Like, and he's trying to build up the generations of chimeras because he can put 2 powers together. Mm-hmm. But what about 3 or 4 or 5?
Yes.
Like, things get a little unstable when you start to include more. So he's trying to find, like, the perfect mixture. But basically, the rest of the Quiet Council's like, okay, we'll let you live if you keep working on the chimeras. But, you know,
watch your
enjoy
back.
breathing
while exactly.
you can. Like, and he's just like, okay, I'll play nice. Yeah. And Emma's, like, straight up like, if you think I won't slaughter you just to get a giggle in this afternoon, like, we don't need you that badly, so you better get to work.
No. Emma is just waiting, just counting down the days until she can kill the original Sinister.
She's so excited.
Yes.
She's so excited. And Sinister is absolutely terrified. He knows the problem that he's in.
Yes. And so during this time, so with the chimeras and stuff, we get introduced to this group of chimeras. This very specific ones that are that we get introduced into the Nightcrawlers series issues, which they all have the DNA of Nightcrawler mixed with a variety of other mutants. And this becomes an interesting experience, which honestly, like, this is really smart writing in this, in my opinion, because we've seen a lot of these things with, like, okay, Sinister clearly always had an evil plan. Like, we knew that something was going to happen with Sinister. We knew that we were going to get to some point, because I have been saying forever, I don't know why the mutants ever trusted Sinister. Like, he is up to no good. But then this idea with using Nightcrawlers and these chimeras with other mutants, it's like, okay, you could really have a powerhouse of, like, your, like, minions by using his teleportation abilities. But the way this starts turning on the Sinisters is just beautiful in the sense, because
it is, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because, okay, so during this whole part, so we have our, I guess we can call him our OG Sinister, the Sinister that we've known for a long time, the Diamond Head Sinister with all of his plans being enacted. But we also have those other original clones by Nathaniel Essex from way in the past that we've revealed with, like, Orbis Stellaris, Dr. Stasis, and Mother Righteous.
And now Mother Righteous.
Yes. And
they're all in the background.
Yes.
Kind of, like, most of them are kind of like Dr. Stasis specifically, like, he's playing catch up.
Yeah. He doesn't last long.
He's the one freaking out, like, oh God.
No.
Oh God, he, like, I didn't realize that mutant Sinister was so far ahead of me. Oh God, I have to catch up. While Orbis is up in space, he's just kind of looking down at Diamond Sinister going, you're only that far? Like whatever. Yeah. I'm not worried about you. And then there's Mother Righteous, who's just leaning back in a chair this entire time, just kind of chilling. As she is wont to do.
Yes. And Mother Righteous is definitely the one who is like, I am here for you all. Come to me. I'm your mother. Everything will be fine vibe. And it's brilliant and also creepy. But we also get kind of this, like, weird little, like, meeting at first of all these Sinisters coming together minus the OG Sinister to have, like, a little, like, chat about, hey, what's everybody up to kind of thing. And then we see, like, I think the Nightcrawlers appear, all these chimeras, and they kill Stasis. And
they do.
And Mother Righteous and Orbis Stellaris are kind of like, okay, I'm good with that.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And then they're kind of like, hey, we're just going to, let's do our own thing. We'll keep our distance from each other.
Stay out of each other's way. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Yep. Like the winner takes it all. Yep. Like we're friends here. We're just playing a pleasant game. It's fine.
Yeah, and Mother Righteous is kind of like, I'm so glad Stasis is dead. Like, thanks so much for your guys' help. Wonderful. Yeah. And
ta-ta.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I hate the way she talks in this. That's like probably the most annoying thing ever. I was like,
she's like Cockney British.
But they go hardcore because when we were first introduced,
they go hardcore.
When we were first introduced to her, I like did not get that vibe at all. But then it was like, bam. If you didn't know,
she lets her hair down, and it's like, whoa, okay,
and the accent out. There we go.
And the accent. It's like Moira. Like Moira can talk, like that's American, and then like sometimes she gets worked up, and it's like full Scottish. Like I don't even know what you're saying right now.
That is true. So true. Oh my gosh. But so we see a lot of Mother Righteous. No, boy, that would be special. No, a lot of Mother Righteous throughout this. We also see, because earlier with Way of X, I believe, or Legion of X, we saw Sean Cassidy kind of making a little deal with Mother Righteous, and Sean Cassidy merging with the Spirit of Variance, who we recall is kind of the like anomaly of the Spirits of Vengeance, which is Ghost Rider and all that, if people are familiar with that. But Spirit of Variance,
he's the spirit of change.
Yes.
Like, oh, you're terrible? I'll help you change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, we don't have to be awful.
Yes, we don't have to get vengeance. There's a way, like, we could be better. And so, of course, the Spirits of Vengeance kind of were like, ew, get away from us. We hate you.
Yeah, they're like gross.
Like, we want to destroy you.
She doesn't even go here.
Yeah, exactly. But Spirit of Variance, survives, thrives with Sean Cassidy. They kind of do their thing, but they're also basically the assistant, we'll do whatever you want us to do, Mother Righteous, like we're here for you. And so it becomes a thing where Mother Righteous is like, okay, OG Sinister stuff is annoying. He's creating all these chimeras. I want to do something about them. Do you think you can help? And so the Spirit of Variance, because it's about changing and stuff, they're like, hey, we can use our special ability and see if we can turn these chimeras into not really mindless beings. So they go after these Nightcrawlers who were basically sent to assassinate and stuff and just deal with people that are not part of their whole ideals, basically. And he's able to turn some of them, which, wow.
They introduce religion to
to the Nightcrawlers.
All the Nightcrawlers. Yeah, which, I mean, we know how Nightcrawler takes to religion. And boy, do they take to it.
Yes, they do.
Basically, like, Mother Righteous is Mother Jesus.
Yes.
Let's go work for her, because screw everything else. Like, we don't have to be murderers. We can have purpose.
Can serve a higher power, yeah.
Yeah, she's all like, okay.
Yeah.
I can get down with that.
And I'm like...
And, like the Wolverine, or the Wolverines, the Nightcrawlers they have, I mean, like, they're cool.
Yes.
They are cool people. And, like, they continue to exist for a while. But, like, are we good to jumping into the 100-year spectrum now?
Yes, I think so, yes.
So, 100 years in the future now, oh my gosh, not the Wolverines, good lord. The Nightcrawlers, they have thrived.
Yes.
Like, there are so many more. They are on this holy mission from Mother Righteous. And she basically has them just popping around the universe.
Just getting magical
gathering
items.
all of these like extremely crazy magical items. Not like the Infinity Stones, because they don't technically exist right now in the Marvel universe. They're like broken. They're space dust. But that's a different story. But like the Eye of Agamotto from Doctor Strange, like all of these major magical artifacts, they go and find them, they bring them back to her, and she's like, cool, thanks. And she's preparing to use their magical nonsense at a later date. But they're all kind of doing this. The Nightcrawlers are doing their religion thing. And I think she has them also, like, trying to find the lab.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. She has them also kind of teleporting around trying to find the lab. And they do. They do find it.
Yes.
And they find it with Orbis Stellaris. And... which the process of just finding it alone, like, kills a whole bunch of the Nightcrawlers, because they can't teleport into his little like bubble thingy.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he is out in space, and he has his orb, his golden orb thing, is now the size of like a planet, essentially.
Yeah.
With all of these protections around it, and they cannot teleport into the thing. They basically, it's like a bug splatting against the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, go ahead and envision it, because that's what's happening in the art. But it's like not a small amount of Nightcrawlers that attempt to get through. But also, they're kind of being pushed at it at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mother Righteous encourages it. It's all for the religion. It's all for greater good.
Like, it's all for the religion. So that's happening in that book. They're all kind of going through a religious crisis.
But we also have one particular Nightcrawler who's been little unique. And we'll call... This is our Laura, our Wolverine Nightcrawler, who...
Wagnerine.
Yes.
Yes.
Who has kind of almost at times seemed to break through everybody's kind of like all these Nightcrawlers kind of like almost mindless like belief in Mother Righteous and the religion and stuff, where she kind of evolves a little bit in some ways, where she's kind of like, I think there's more to it, because not only do they hold on to this religion idea, but it's also because they are Nightcrawlers, they are also solely into like the spark, like that religion that we're getting back to. They're going back to like, we worship the original Nightcrawler and we are doing all this stuff in the name of Mother Righteous as well, but our true original guy, Nightcrawler, like, it'd be cool to find him and stuff. But anyway, this Laura Nightcrawler also learns to love and falls in love with one of the Nightcrawlers, who, we have to make a joke, the Summers get around. Everybody wants to be with the Summers, and so
absolutely,
it's
even Kurt.
Yes, exactly. Wants to be
at least Kurt's
yes,
DNA.
Exactly. And of course the Wolverine wants to get with Scott as well, so that makes sense too. So we have this Laura Nightcrawler getting together with a Scott Nightcrawler, and it's kind of this like really brief story, but it continues on to be this core part of this Nightcrawler's existence and haunts them. Yeah. Because the thing was that when Sinister created them, they like basically couldn't like have children.
Yeah, he purposely created them sterile.
Yes.
Like, he doesn't want them like breeding on their own. No, that's not what this is about.
His controlled group.
But Wagnerine does. She becomes pregnant, and it's seen as like a holy mother situation. Like, but also they're like also terrified of the implications. Yes. Like, what if Mother Righteous finds out? Well,
yeah, she does.
She does.
Yeah, and
she does, and Wagnerine is like, well, like I offer this baby to you, I guess, like this magical miracle, and she's just like, okay. She was like, I was gonna take it anyway, but
because I think it also played off that Mother Righteous is kind of like, sorry, your baby didn't make it type thing. And because then there's kind of like this weird thing where it's like, it's clearly like she clearly did something about the baby, but she's like, no, your baby died because Scott Crawler basically is like so distraught and dies, and it becomes one of the sacrifices to teleport into the lab to try to essentially. Mother Righteous is kind of doing some vibe about like the more people that teleport into it might like break the barrier. So, but it's your sacrifice.
So your sacrifice is always worthy. Like,
yeah. So you're like, okay, there's some weird stuff going on. Yeah.
Basically, she takes the baby. Like, she keeps the baby as one of her weird, like, magical artifacts.
Yes.
That she keeps suspended behind her in these little, like, magical bubbles that are tethered to her. Which have these tethered bubble thingies, they've been there this entire time. Like, since you met Mother Righteous, since her first appearance, she's had them back there. You just can't see inside of them. But as this story progresses, you start to see inside of them, and you see like all of these magical artifacts that she's already gathered, and she's like holding on to the power of until a better time, essentially. And this baby is one of them.
Yes. And it's one of those things too where you start seeing cracks almost in Mother Righteous. Like, you know, I think readers are probably very suspicious of her in general because clearly she is a Sinister, but she tries to give up so much like positivity, love, fake vibes to everybody, being like, I'm the real savior, like, you know, I'm the one who can move us in the right direction. Don't trust everybody else. Like, I'm doing everything for the greater good. This is what you need to listen to. And you're just like, there's some real sketchy things. And you're like, of course she's a Sinister. We cannot wait to find out what her actual plan is, because everybody has a plan. But we also kind of move back to, like, during this, because this is the jump to the 100 years, we see what everybody else has been doing. Because let's go back to OG Sinister, who's been, he's still alive, he's still been hanging on, trying to keep up with his relevancy with the Quiet Council. And basically it's kind of at the end, everybody's like, we are sick and tired of the OG Sinister. Like, why is he still here? Like, he's a joke. Well, this is when he reveals his latest chimera, his big one, his Rasputin number 4.
Rasputin.
Yes.
And now this was an exciting moment, because this was not Rasputin's debut. We've actually seen Rasputin before a long time ago in the original The Powers of 10, House of X and Powers of 10, in the Moira life, where like mutantdom, like whoever had survived was basically like a zoo.
Yeah.
I think it was Apocalypse's future, where she chose Apocalypse. And the Chimera system was like super online, and they were like hunting down the rest of the mutants. Well, Rasputin was one of those mutants. She's like a Gen 5 one where she has 5 powers. She's the completed model, essentially. And so Rasputin's power set it's wild. She has Colossus. She has Colossus's metal skin. She has Quentin Quire's telepathy.
Yes.
Omega level Quentin Quire. She has force fields from, what's his name? Oh, Eunice, the Untouchable.
That's right, yes. Who comes up a bit.
Kitty Pryde's intangibility. And then Laura Kinney's healing factor.
So
she is an absolute powerhouse.
Yes. And at this moment, basically, OG Sinister kind of realizes, like, this is the end, shows off Rasputin, and is kind of like, hey, Rasputin, I need you to help me. Like, you're my ticket out of here. And they, shoot off to space. And we're like, bye, Quiet Council. See you never.
Oh, yeah, because the Quiet Council's like, oh, good, you've completed the Chimera program? Like, we can kill you now, right? And he's like, oh.
About that. Yeah.
So Rasputin grabs him, and they're gone. And they're just kind of like, you know what? I'm not even bothered by that. We'll make it a game sometime to track him down and kill him. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, Rasputin and Sinister, the OG Sinister, they're gone. Because he's also, like, he's implanted in her mind that, like, she is this huge hero. She has all these heroic qualities and always wants to do the best thing. In which case, save the creator. Like, he's the key to all of this. She needs to keep him alive.
Yeah, and he's also like, you know what? In order to fix everything wrong with this world, you need to help me find my lab. Because we can make a difference, and I need you. So, major brainwashing of her, and she's like, all right, I'm here. Let's do this.
I understand.
Then, another thing that happens during this time, because we also still have to deal with Mystique and Destiny, because they've been living their own life away from all the drama. Well, that's what Destiny thinks.
Well, kind of.
That's what Destiny thinks.
Yeah.
But Mystique essentially, so we've been having, like, it's been an ongoing war. Like we said, that, you know, it's now with the universe, everybody been fighting. Well, guess who else is still going strong? Our girl, Storm.
Our girl.
Yes.
She's got the Arakan Brotherhood, and they basically, didn't they, like, find a way to, like, move the planet?
Yeah.
Like,
something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're kind of like, they just kind of like escaped from like Mars's position, and they're just kind of flying out in the universe trying to like stay out of the Sinister stuff,
but also fighting off anybody. But
also they're like, like they're the rebels. They're trying to save the universe, but at the moment they're just trying to save themselves because things are a problem.
Yeah,
things are a problem.
And essentially, at one point, I think the Sinisters find Storm again or something, and like, yeah, you're a threat. We need to get to you. And then Mystique is kind of like, I want to help Storm because I'm tired of just sitting around.
Mystique has
just living forever.
She left. They were like literally in a bunker, like hiding away from the rest of the world because Destiny knows all the things. And Mystique's like, I'm tired of sitting around here. We need to go join Storm. Like, I cannot be inactive in this. I have to go fight. like, if you don't let me do that, even if it leads to my death, then you don't love me. You don't understand who I am. Yeah. And so she just walks out on Destiny.
And dies.
And dies.
Yeah.
And Destiny's just like, well, what the hell am I living for?
Yeah.
Like, I can't live in a world where I don't have my wife. So now she's also going to go join Storm, kind of.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Because the convenience, you know.
The convenience. Like, she's going to get off Earth, and then she's got to get away from the rest of the Sinisters. But her thing's like, we got to find the lab.
Because she's like,
now.
Like, if I don't have my wife, why am I living right now? And
this is a stupid timeline, and I can fix it.
Exactly. So that's kind of where it's at, where, there's another thing that happens because, you know, too many Sinisters in a quiet council is too many Sinisters. And, you know, Exodus, for all of his time, has kind of been like, praise be the Messiah. Hope is everything. And Sinister Exodus is kind of like, wait a minute, is Hope the Messiah? Is she everything?
Is Hope everything? Or is just the idea of Hope everything?
But what about me? I'm pretty great. Wait, could I be the Messiah?
Because like, how this whole situation works is that if Hope is the Messiah, Exodus is like, gosh, he's like the guy to the Messiah. Like, if people believe in Exodus, who believes in Hope, like, where's the power really coming from here? So he gets it big in his head that he doesn't really need Hope to, like, push the idea of the Messiah. Yes. And who makes a better Messiah than a martyr?
Yep. So Exodus is like, bye, Hope.
He absolutely, he's like, we have a mission for you. We need to go out in space and do this thing. And she's like, word dog, I'm the best in the universe. I got this. And she gets out there and does the thing, whatever it was, and ships the stuff back.
Yeah.
Like, whatever they were searching for, she goes to ship it back. And she's like, okay, like, I'm ready to come home. And Exodus is like, oh, I've got to tell you about
bad
something.
News.
And she's basically like, you piece of shit. And he just, like, explodes the whole planet on her. Like she's gone. She's all done. See you later. Comical, but very dark. But so, yeah, in like 100 years, like, that's kind of what's happening. Like, the Sinisters are basically done with Earth. They're all looking for an excuse to go elsewhere, to take their power and go elsewhere and expand it out into the universe, because there's so little resistance anymore. I mean, there's just nobody left they've either been killed or they've been sinisterized across the entire universe. So, and thus, we make our final jump to 1,000 years in the future, where we kind of reach the finale of this major shit show that Sinister has, this hell that he has been living through for 1,000 years. Which
is crazy. The OG Sinister is still alive. So he's still thriving-ish and trying to find his lab.
Well, you know, like, they're all just fine and dandy because of the Krakoan resurrection process, you know? Like, nobody's aged a day. Even if they're not, like, tied to the council people, like, they still got it. They have access to those kinds of powers, so...
Yeah, which I think it's the Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants ones where they do the intro that's almost Star Wars-esque with, like, at this point, which is so funny because
they're rebels, you know, they're like out in their little spaceships shooting stuff. Like, it's extremely Star Warsy.
Because even like the text at the beginning, it's so definitely reminiscent of all the Star Wars movies. But this like 1,000 years really plays that up because we have everybody, because like we said, they're pushing out further and further into the universe. And also,
I don't even think Earth exists anymore.
No, it's just kind of like a junk yard or something. It's
just there. Yeah, it's literally a junk pile. Yeah. So they're all out.
Yes. And, you know, let's make it really spacey, Star Warsy and stuff. And because like everybody has like their own planets and stuff. And this is where things get real crazy because, like we said, the joke is like, can Sinister even be friends with Sinister? No, not really. The council has all gone their separate ways. They are all doing their own world domination or universe domination.
They're all like their own intergalactic empires. They just kind of go out in a direction and they just start claiming powers. They start claiming planets and resources and all of these things. And then if they bump into each other, it's time for war. Like, let's go. And
but I love it that Emma Sinister is still like one of the main characters in all of this.
I know you're going to talk about Emma.
Oh my gosh. I love and hate it so much because it's like, yes.
Emma is like Sinister Emma is like in her best life during all of this. Like, she is always on top. She's always got the last like card to play.
Yeah.
This is a great time to be Emma.
Yes. But honestly, like, I won't dive into those particulars at the moment because we will get to, it's all leading towards that. But Sinister's choice to put his, you know, little DNA, little tidbit in everyone, but especially the women in the Marvel Universe, women get stuff done, and it shows these Sinister women are the ones who, like, can freaking rule the universe, and they're the biggest threat to the OG Sinister.
Yeah, because, like, all the other people are out in space, and they're just like, we're fine, but, like, oh god, is that Emma? Oh god, no, it's not. Oh, Space Rock. Like, Emma's over here, like... Yeah. They're always making sure that those women are nowhere in sight.
Yeah,
but it's so interesting because while they have their own little, like, galactic empires, they focus on different things. Like,
yes,
they have each decided in their own way to head towards Dominionhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you have the actual Sinisters who are playing the real game.
Yes.
Who are, like, so far ahead. But then you have like, the X-Men Sinisters who really don't know anything about the rest of the Sinisters. They think they're playing their own game, but, like, it's nothing compared to what's actually going on. And I don't remember what each of them are actually doing, but, like, Charles has absolutely, mentally enslaved, like, bajillions of people, right? They worship him, like, in some sick, nasty way.
But so on brand at
because
the same time.
He's inside their brains. Oh, yeah. It's what if these characters were their absolute worst versions of themselves? And Emma, of course, is like, well, I'm the most beautiful person in the universe. So love me for that. And they're like, either love me or fear me. I'll give you reasons to do either. I don't really care. Like, she pulls out a whip on Sinister. Like, and with the heels, like, she knows what she's doing.
Yes.
And Exodus is just doing his, like,
worship
freak messiah worship thing. It's so weird because he's, like, taking his planets and, like, pulling them into himself. Like, it's just this big pod of planets. It's really weird, and I think he's, like, the first to go. Something like that. Like,
I can't keep track of all those. It's all that really matters is kind of Emma and the OG Sinister, but also the other powerhouse female who is also still in the mix. We're talking about Mother Righteous here,
which is crazy.
Yes, who has really been playing a real long game because
she's just been sitting and chilling for 1,000 years, just collecting magic and
just
popping out more.
I'm helpful.
Night crawlers.
Yeah,
she's just trying to help. She's just,
she's here with that accent.
So selfless.
Nothing to worry about with her.
But who else is still around though? Oh wait. Oh, we didn't talk about Storm at the 100 Years.
How
she was like old.
Yes, okay.
Storm was like so old, but then she to sum it up, like her and Destiny get together and they head towards like Stellaris, if I'm remembering correctly, but Storm is so old at this point, like she can lead, but she can't really do anything. But they kind of reach this point where they have to like hit Stellaris like hard enough to like break into his compound or whatever. Like it's not a planet, it's like a galaxy sized orb at this point or whatever. And Storm basically mixes her magic with like her mutant ability with her magic because she's
from like her mom's side
goddess.
Or something like that. She talks about
but there's this new mutant who basically can boost people. One of her big followers like boosts the crap out of her, and she just goes out in space and just blasts the crap out of Stellaris, and whatever they were trying to do, it works. And I don't, is to get Destiny inside or something. I don't really remember, but Storm does die as a result, which she knew. Like, I'm going to use all this power, and that's going to be it for me. But in, like, that 1,000-year gap, Storm has become this, like, legacy.
Yes.
And gosh, I don't remember how it happens, but, like, everybody's kind of heading towards, like, the final battle. With like Stellaris, because he's on the Orbis. Stellaris is like on the absolute tip, ready to achieve Dominionhood because of like what he's doing.
Yeah. Well, because Storm, when she sacrificed herself, it was because they had gained control of the lab. And so that's where the lab is with Storm's brotherhood. And so they've been holding on to it because it's the big secret that all they know is that they must protect that. They will fight off anybody. Storm's legacy will live on. And you're right, like, this is really coming fast. Everybody's showing their hand at this point. We are seeing what's happening. But there's also a couple other key players that pop up again. We see the Laura Nightcrawler more, because she, I think it was actually in the 100 Years or something, like, she kind of was like, Mother Righteous is really sketchy. I'm kind of done with this.
She starts to doubt Mother Righteous because of the whole baby incident.
Yes.
Doesn't she, like, head out? She's like, I'm gonna sneak out. See you later.
Yeah. So we see that, and where she starts popping up again because she's like, something's not right. Like, I know the only thing I can cling to is hope. I believe my baby is still alive, and I am going to find my child and live in happiness. So we see her coming into play with all this. We also see, because why wouldn't she pop up? Who are the two biggest threats, kind of in a sense, to the X-Men right now, or two that we've seen popping up lately? Not only is it Sinister, but it's freaking Moira. Because Moira is her robot self right now, so she's been living forever.
And of course she would have lasted this entire time just to be petty. Like a jerk.
But I was also like, I love this because it's two of the worst people that are gonna fight this out, in a sense. We're gonna get the OG Sinister and some Moira crap and all this, and
there's always Moira crap and everything. But Moira's figured out, she knows about the Moira engine. And she's like, oh, everybody's after that. Well, I'll just kind of sit back and
wait for my time. Yeah.
I'll go after it when I'm ready to, because she's got this big old plan herself. She understands what Sinister was doing with the Moira engine. And she's like, I'm absolutely here to use that myself. Yes. Everybody's sick of this whole universe at this point. This timeline was a mistake. And they all just want to wake up from this terribly bad dream.
Yeah.
Except for Emma.
Yeah, exactly. Except for Emma. Yeah, she's the one in the background being like, no one will succeed. I rule all.
Well, and she comes up with this giant diamond form Emma Gundam.
Oh my gosh.
She's all you don't know how long I've been ready for this fight. She's like, I'll kill you all.
Yeah.
And everybody's just like,
okay, yes.
We need to end this right now.
And so essentially it's all our bigger players just trying to get into the lab, which it finally breaks basically the shield around it. And the first people to reach it are Mother Righteous, with the help of all of her minions, and Moira's there as well, because,
And also Moira. She's in the shadows skulking around.
And this is where, Mother Righteous is kind of like, yes, I will reveal my whole plan. Let me monologue, basically. So, no. And because she is the Sinister who we've mentioned has really been into the magic and stuff, because she believes that magic is the true way forward, that everybody else is focused on the science, but magic is the smart way to get through this, and creates this kind of magical super thing that will help her succeed in the past, because she of course wants to reset the timeline, but she puts all the memories, or she wants
she wants to take the data, this 1,000 years worth of data that Sinister will still kill for, as long as he gets to go back. She's going to take this data herself, but she's not going to do the same thing as Sinister is going to do. Are we ready for the conclusion?
Let's do it.
Oh, we did miss one thing.
Which one?
Juggernaut.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Juggernaut is the reason that yes, you're right.
So they break into the lab via Juggernaut.
Yes.
So basically, he's been flying around in the time stream for 1,000 years. Well, it's
Destiny
has seen. She foretold if the space station is in this exact place at this exact time, Juggernaut, who has been increasing his momentum for thousands of years, will blast himself right through the shield and let everybody in. And that's what happens. And then what happens to Juggernaut after that? I don't know. He's still out there in space. He's still flying. Yep. To be used as a plot device some other time. So yeah, they get in there, they all kind of reach the end, and they're like, who's gonna be the one to reset the timeline? And they're all just kind of shooting and stabbing at each other, and it's a whole mess.
But it's also hilarious too, because I was because Moira's kind of chilling in the background with Mother Righteous being like, my whole plan and stuff, and Moira being like, cool, I'll help you. And I'm kind of like,
yeah,
what?
She's so chill. She's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It
And I was
sounds cool.
like, I was like, come on, Moira, it's your turn to act. Come on.
Like, I don't really care as long as it gets reset by somebody. I mean, it's fine. And Mother Righteous kind of reaches out. She's like, okay, I'll do it. And then, of course, she gets stabbed in the back by Moira.
Moira's like, hee hee.
Like, haha. And so Moira is the one, technically, to reset the timeline.
Yes.
I believe. But Mother Righteous wins.
Yes.
Because Mother Righteous has taken the data and she's stored it in her own little, like, magical pocket dimension thing, which we have seen pop up here and there. She, go figure, she stores it in a book.
Yep. A whole library.
In her own little library. And a whole library. And she's like, okay, so she dies. And Moira resets the timeline, finally.
Yeah. But things still bleed into our past or our present at this point, because,
because there's some trickery afoot. If you remember Rasputin, our super cool mega chimera, she was essentially, like, protected by Mother Righteous.
Of course.
So when the timeline reset, she was still there. And she remembered everything. Well, as much as she was there to recall.
As much as she was told by people, yeah.
As much as she was told. Because the legend, or the legacy of Krakoa is like the mutant promised land. Like, they talk about it a lot throughout the 100 and the 1,000 years. Well, there used to be this land, Krakoa, and mutants, and yada, yada, yada. And that's kind of Rasputin's dream, is she wants to make it to Krakoa. She wants to be her heroic self so that she can go to Krakoa someday. Like it's, heaven or something. But we kind of all pop back into the Quiet Council before Sinister was set to kill everybody.
But he still, I think, kills the 4 people. Like, that he still goes to that and then goes to his lab. So I thought he still follows through with Exodus, Hope, Emma, and Charles. But when he goes back to his lab, he's not alone.
Oh, like Rasputin's there, isn't she?
No. Moira is there.
Or Moira.
Yes. Which is perfect, because I'm just like, come on, it makes sense. Moira is kind of like, I hate you, Sinister, but I hate you even more because you have clones of me. There can only be one me. And blows up the lab. And Sinister's like, you're going to reset things. Like, no. And then, like, nothing happened. Or, like, the lab blows up and he's like, wait, what happened? And she's like, I neutralized the X genes in them before I blew them up. So, sorry, you don't get to reset it again.
So, F you, Sinister. Like, we're not doing that again. Like, we all had enough of that. Because the thing is that, like, Sinister has his own part to play in the ending. Because he kind of hijacks.
Oh, yeah, because he had...
Like, the resetting. Yeah, he's like right at the end as the timeline is resetting, he's like, oh, I see a shot, I'm going to take it. I'm going to become Dominion. And he goes for it. And he's, like, ascending, and he thinks all is well until he essentially runs into, like, a giant force field in the sky, like, in space. He's like a fly that's immediately swatted back down. And he's like, what? I don't understand. Like, somebody's already a Dominion? Like, that doesn't make any sense. How could somebody beat me?
Like,
this is what this whole thing was about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets caught up in all of the timeline warpiness, except he remembers that was kind of his punishment for, like, not reaching Dominionhood first. Because the Dominion's like, you're going to remember.
Yeah.
Have fun with that.
Because he had put the failsafe in because he knew to, like, download the data. Technically, that's what it was when he ran back to his lab. And as he was downloading it, like, corrupted. And then that's when Moira revealed herself and then blew up the lab.
Yeah. And so, like, Sinister's caught with all of this knowledge of failure.
Yeah. Because it's also funny because, with the Dominionhood stuff is that before that happens, Destiny's kind of like, you're probably going to do it anyway, but, like, I swear to you, I'm telling you the truth. Like, dude, you are not going to succeed. It is not you. So stop trying. And he's like, whatever. And then she's like, she warned you. It's not you.
Yep.
Yes. And then another thing that happens is that the council comes for Sinister. And they
march in and they're like, you just, like, murdered all these people, you jerk. But things are going to take a different turn here now.
Well, and also I think this is the part too when they resurrect Exodus, Hope, Emma, and Charles, and they kind of figure out that something's, like, weird. They're kind of like, we're not sure we can trust ourselves, and you guys need to, like, analyze us. So put us in the pit too.
No, like they come back and they're just like, we don't understand what just happened. This is bizarre. And Mother Righteous appears.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And she was like, funnily enough, I can answer all your questions for you. I have all this information you may want to know. Like, they're all kind of chilling at the table, and like the Quiet Council is. And she like snaps her fingers, and it basically plays the entirety of that 1,000-year stretch so that the Quiet Council can see all of the terrible things that they did in this alternate reality.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
Like, from that point. And they're all just like we were Sinisterized. Sinister did all these things to us. How can we trust ourselves if he's already killed us? So then they have themselves analyzed.
Yes, and that's when they decide.
And they're like, oh, yeah. And those 4 specifically are like, oh, we can't be trusted. We're on the Quiet Council, but like we don't get a vote anymore. We have 0 to say. Because how do we know? Mm-hmm. How do we know that he's not going to do something to take us over again?
Yeah. Because they're all worried about that Sinister, not Mother Righteous, who came to their rescue, their savior. Because there's also this thing with Mother Righteous where, like, she kind of is like, please say the words to me or something. Or about, like, when Storm comes up to her and is like, how can we ever repay you?
Oh my God.
And you're just like, no. And
no. So she needs to be told thank you. Just that little bit of gratitude. But it's clear that at this point, by saying thank you and offering that gratitude, it gives her power over the people. Mm-hmm. And Storm's like, on behalf of all mutant kind.
Yeah.
We thank you. And Mother Righteous is like, jackpot.
Yeah. And
like,
gosh.
Ooh,
like, that's pretty much how it ends there,
doozy.
Especially with Mother Righteous. You're like, wow.
Yeah, she's like, surely you'll never see me again. Ta-ta. Bye-bye.
My accent.
And they're all like, wow, wasn't she really nice, guys? That's really cool.
Wow.
And then like
and the readers are just screaming, like, no!
Like, no!
Yeah.
Surely this will end just fine.
Yes, surely,
we'll
surely.
Never pop up ever again.
No. And the X-Men lived happily ever after.
And so, like, the Sins of Sinister ends with everybody basically in turmoil, because did any of these things actually happen? No. But they have carried the knowledge of what could have happened into the future, which sows seeds of doubt within some of the 4 biggest people in the Quiet Council who has the most influence. Those people out. Like, they need to be replaced. We have Rasputin now, who is like, I will do everything in my power to make sure that what did happen in my world never happens here. And she's like, just tell me to, and I'll kill Sinister right now. That's fine. But they end up just tossing him in the pit. Again, like, you're done again.
The pit works out
and Sinister's
so well.
just kind of like, he's just so like flabbergasted by the whole Dominion
he's so
thing still. Like,
he's like, I'm a loser.
Yeah,
I'm a failure.
He's done. Yeah. He's like, you want me to hop in the pit? I'll do it myself. Like, I don't really care. And then it ends and you have Mother Righteous, who's just like smiling to herself, like, awesome.
Yep. Like, this is better than I could imagine. Oh man. But that is such a cliffhanger, and it's such a thing too where, you know, Sinister has been a big player this whole time, and it's like Sinister continues to be, but it's this Mother Righteous, and just seeing her just lay out her whole plan and how, you know, those females, you better watch out for them. Oh man.
And it's this whole thing, and you have, like, doesn't the world know too?
I don't know.
Like, doesn't Moira do that? Like,
oh, she does something, you're right.
She takes like the major points of Sins of Sinister, like, and she tells the world, like, hey, the mutants, like, barely averted this stuff from happening. You can't trust them. So just more propaganda against. But the mutants are also, like, legit. Like, we can't argue against that because it did happen. And we'll fight to make sure it doesn't happen, but we know the potential is there. Yay!
So now this is the end of this 3rd arc in the Krakoan Age.
Destiny of X, done.
And oh boy, listeners, I mean, the next is called The Fall of X, so we're going to be in for a wild ride.
Yep, we'll start the next and final act, The Fall of X, with just a lot of unsureness, a lot of questions, a lot of, you know, there's no confidence from really anybody. Like, everybody feels it in the air.
Yeah.
You know, and so next time.
Which will be next year. So we are going to take a little bit of break from the comics.
Year.
Yes. So
yes.
At the beginning of next year, we will continue and finish the Krakoan Age.
So if you have sat in this whole time, thanks for sticking around, because there was a lot to cover, and I bet you we still missed a whole bunch of stuff, too.
Definitely. Yes, there's a lot.
We'll find out, but, you know, if this has interested you, like, go check out Sins of Sinister, like, go read, like, Immortal X-Men. Even if you're brand new to comics, just go read Immortal X-Men, and then dive into Sins of Sinister and see how crazy it truly is. Like, from a reading viewpoint, it's bonkers. The amount of stuff that they fit in those books, the amount of concepts.
Yes.
And everything else. It's so much. Like I said, I know we just kind of, like, glazed over some stuff. And I'm sure there's other things that we completely skipped out on.
No, I mean, there's so much. This is like hundreds of comics. There is so much, and there's something for everyone, whatever you're looking for. And especially just if you want to focus on the main story, clearly go ahead and do that. But
what's the great thing about X-Men? X-Men is for everybody.
Yes, really is.
You know? Mutant and proud.
Exactly. Well, with that, I think that'll do it for this epic end to the third arc, ending with the crazy Sins of Sinister. So listeners, thanks so much for listening to this episode. Make sure you follow or subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast so you don't miss out on our next X-Men episode or our next episode on something else that may interest you. We will be covering video games to end out the year, some movies. So there's something for you to enjoy. Feel free to follow us along with us on our social media at PodDemastered. Send us an email at demasteredpodcast@gmail.com. And once again, thanks so much for listening to this episode, and we hope you tune in to the next one.
See ya.